This conference will now be recorded.
This meeting to order. It has been duly posted as required by state law, and we will begin with the roll call. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council meeting. The time is now
This conference will now be recorded.
This meeting to order. It has been duly posted as required by state law, and we will begin with the roll call. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development.
This conference will now be recorded.
City of Brownsville,
Present.
City of Edinburgh, City of Westaco, Cameron County,
Present.
Hidalgo County,
Present.
City of Alamo, City of Donner, Sullivan City, San Perlita, Los Fresnos, City of McAllen, City of Farr, City of Raymondville, City of San Benito, City of San Juan, UTRGV, South Texas College, TSTC, Troy Allen, Ron Mills, Jim Darling, Tony Chavez, Ann Cass, Lupita Martinez.
All right, wonderful. We do have quorum. At this time, we'll ask everyone to please rise as Manny leads us in our invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we begin this meeting by giving you thanks for the opportunity to gather here today. Merciful God, you remind us in your words that you're always with us and you will never leave us. You are the place where we find refuge, comfort, and peace. Open our ears so we can hear your voice and our hearts to receive your word. Give us during our discussions, guide us during our discussions here today as we conduct business that would affect the citizens of the Rio Grande Valley. Give us the clarity of mind to act in their best interest and not ours. We pray that this meeting is successful, productive, and blessed. Almighty God, we give you the glory for what we accomplish. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Now the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 2, consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes for September 25, 2024. Are there any amendments to the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, we have public comment. Is there anyone signed up? Okay, this time we'll close public comment and move on to item 4, administration. Manny?
Under item 4, administration, we have two presentations. The first presentation is a presentation from Texas Census Institute. We have Ms. Angela Royals from the Texas Census Institute, Executive Director, that's online. Ms. Angela, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You may begin.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. I'm Angela Broyles. I'm the Executive Director of the Texas Census Institute. We are a nonprofit that was formed in the fall of 2021 to support census participation in the state of Texas. Is there a presentation or is it on file? I believe Liza turned it in. Oh, you can see it on your screen, but I can't see it on mine. Okay, cool. Let me pull up my presentation. Okay, you ready for me to go?
Yes, ma'am. Proceed.
Great. Okay, great. So next slide, please. So we are like I said, the Texas Census Institute. We're a nonprofit organization. We're looking to overcome operational and motivational barriers to census participation in the state of Texas. Next slide, please. I'll cruise through some of the stuff at the beginning just because I don't have a whole lot of time. But I wanted to tell you just about our organization for this team, because we're doing a lot of work right now in the Rio Grande Valley. But we are, for a lot of you probably know this, but the census impacts money, representation, planning and research, and advocacy. The data is used every day for all the data uses that we, in order to serve our communities. Next slide, please. But the 2020 census undercount that was conducted in 2020 by the Census Bureau, when they came back, they did something called a post-enumeration survey. It's basically where they check their work, and they estimate that they undercounted the state of Texas by 500,000 people. We did some further analysis. Some of our research department looked at the undercount of young children, and the state undercounted 153,000 children in the state of Texas. We also did some research with some academic partners to look at what that meant from an economic perspective, and we're estimating that the loss of federal dollars over the next 10 years is $25 billion for the state just from undercounting those 500,000 people. There are over 350 programs that use census data to be distributed to the state of Texas. So that 500,000 undercount has significant implications. Next slide, please. Some of the further analysis that we've done is to look at the economic impact for specific demographics and then by specific regions. So we've looked at the undercount. The post-enumeration survey gave the undercount for the state. We've worked with the Texas Demographic Center to understand the undercount by county. And then we've looked at those programs at a county and a region level. So because of the undercount just in the 4 RGV counties, the undercount of young children specifically, the region is losing approximately $160 million over the next 10 years. And those are in programs such as child care development block grants, nutrition programs, education, healthcare. So these are what you're looking at here are some of the losses that the region is potentially seeing because of the census undercount. So next slide, please. This is the, so I'm not going to go into this too much detail, but my work and the work of the Institute was started after the 2020 census. Prior to that, I was a consultant on a statewide campaign to oversee engagement and motivating folks to take the census. And so from that previous work, which is kind of what caused us to start the Texas Census Institute, there were a lot of challenges that the state of Texas faced that we saw opportunities for. One specifically that I'm going to speak to right now is that 5th one down, which is the low participation in something called LUCA, where we update the master address files. Most people think about non-participation in the census and they just think about people taking it, but there's actually some operational things that the state can do that can improve the census numbers. So one of our goals is to overcome that barrier and to advocate for full statewide participation in LUCA. So the LUCA, what is LUCA? Some of you may know about this. Hidalgo County and the RGV actually had great participation in this specific program, but it's a voluntary once-a-decade opportunity for tribal, state, and local governments to review and update their address list with the Census Bureau. They can correct, add, and delete addresses, but it's voluntary. We don't have to do it. So these are, if you go, oh, sorry, I skipped ahead on my own presentation. Let me see where you guys are. Can you go down? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, great. So this is who participated in LUCA across the nation. Blue is the counties that participated. Yellow are is when the state participated for the counties. And then if you go next slide, please, this is a look at Texas. In gray, that means that these are the areas that didn't have participation in LUCA. So these are a lot of rural parts of the state and a lot of urban too that are metropolitan areas that didn't participate in LUCA. And then if you go next slide, please, that will take you down to the RGV. So you can see that outside of Willacy, all the RGV counties participated in LUCA, which is seen as, and actually the region is seen as an exemplar in the eyes of the Census Bureau and to the rest of the state. Okay, next slide, please. This is actually from the Hidalgo County, their results of their participation in LUCA. They were able to add 14,000 addresses to the file, correct 15,000, and then delete 5,000. So in all, there was a lot of corrections that were made to the Bureau's address list. Next slide, please. So why participate in LUCA? Well, we call it an operational barrier, and that means that if the Census Bureau doesn't have the address, they're never going to send a questionnaire out to that family. They're never going to even think to impute that someone lives in that household. So there's a very, very high probability that that house will never be counted, and those people will not be counted in the census. So we've also gone a little bit further than that and looked at what the potential return on investment could be from participating in LUCA and having accurate address file and then having those households enumerated. And we estimate it's about 113 per household. So Hidalgo County, because they participated in LUCA and added all those households, they potentially got an extra $1 billion over from 2020 to 2030 just because they participated in that one activity. Next slide, please. So one of the things I wanted to call to attention to this group is that because of the exemplar work with Hidalgo County and all the RGV counties, the Census Bureau would like to pilot this initiative in the RGV. So what they would like to do is partner with Hidalgo County, and because they did such a great job with their LUCA efforts, and then but specifically focusing on colonias and non-traditional communities, so people that have addresses that might not be the norm. They're hoping this timeline will be sometime this fall, stretching into next summer. So their goal with this program is to improve their LUCA program and to scale those improvements nationwide. So they want to look at, which is really great for us, a county in Texas, in order to scale improvements nationwide. But what we're hoping is that if the county participates in this initiative, we can work with them to use these findings to also develop a statewide strategy for full state participation in LUCA. These would be the parties that would be involved in this initiative: the Hidalgo County Planning Department, the GIS department, the GIO department, and the Texas Demographic Center, and then hopefully some additional city and county involvement from the rest of the Rio Grande Valley to help kind of round out the efforts. Next slide, please. Let me make sure you're on are you on the how you can help slide? Okay. So this is how folks from the planning department, other Lower Rio Grande Development Council can help out. We'd love for you guys to become a partner in our work and help promote the research of the Texas Census Institute, help us work to get support from the Bureau and the county to participate in the LUCA pilot. And then anyone who wants to help work on the statewide working group to develop a statewide plan, we would love your support and feedback. All right, next slide, please. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to connecting with some of you after. And thank you, Manny, for having me and inviting me to be here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And like I said before, it's never too early to start with the census. And so looking forward to hopefully partner with Hidalgo County and get this pilot project going. I'll reach out, Commissioner, with the judge, try to set something up, and we can go from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second presentation we have a presentation on the active transportation, active tourism plan. Heff and Associates is here to present. Just before they start, just wanted to remind everybody that this is a plan that Hidalgo County funded for the entire cities, 22 cities in Hidalgo County. We're not leaving Cameron County behind. They're ahead of the game initially. And so Hidalgo is just trying to connect the dots with this plan when it comes to transportation, multimodal transportation resources, identify hike and bike trails and things of that nature that in the past, current, and future. And not to mention that, use this plan, which will be coming up here in the near future for future funding if you decide to build or expand on the hike and bike trails or parks or whatever you're doing within your jurisdiction. And so.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Ilda Capricioso with Half Associates.
I'm sorry. Yes, Ms. Ann Cass had her hand raised. Ms. Ann, you're on mute.
The previous speaker who was speaking about LUCA, has she spoken to anybody at Hidalgo County? Because like 6 months ago, I know the planning department director is brand new, and I talked to him and Rosemary, I think her name is his assistant, but the person who did LUCA for the county for 2020 is no longer there. And so I was just curious if she's spoken to them recently, how interested they are in bringing LUCA back.
Do you want me to speak to that, Annie?
Yes, please.
I didn't want to cut. So yes, we have been in contact with them. I think they're, and we've been advising, and I think they're interested, but wanting to get kind of more information and direction from leadership as to how they should continue with that.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Ann.
Thank you. Ms. Capriccioso?
Thank you. Lisa, will you be going through the slides for me? Or he will. Okay. Next slide. Again, Ilda Capricioso with Half Associates. We began working with the LRGVDC and the funding partner, the RGV MPO, about a year ago, really to begin working on developing an active transportation and active tourism plan, which is typically a basis plan to unite regional trail efforts throughout a large area. And so this is our project team, Half Associates. We also partnered with local engineering firm B2Z and Tool Design for the active tourism component. Next slide. Next slide. So just a little project overview. Manny did a great job of sort of explaining the purpose of this study and report that we've been working on. And it's really to help identify opportunities for the development of a regional network of bike and pedestrian infrastructure that would provide additional draw for the tourism within the communities of Hidalgo County. So that is the sort of main purpose and goal of this plan. Next slide. The project scope had about 6 phases, and right now we have pretty much completed all 6 of these phases. We are in essentially phase 5 and 6, which is integrating the transportation and the active tourism recommendations into an implementation agenda for Hidalgo County. Next slide. This is just the general project outcomes in more detail to that original purpose that we shared with you. Next slide. And then one of the elements that Manny mentioned is that, this united effort really helps to advocate for some of the regional priorities that will give this community and the region the ability to enhance access to state and federal funding, as well as embrace that collaboration that will really provide inclusive growth and prosperity to the region. And then finally, really to align resources to ensure that you're efficiently using and avoiding any duplication of efforts when it comes to these larger regional trail projects. Next slide. So this is the study area. It was primarily within Hidalgo County, 22 cities, as Manny mentioned, and just some general facts that you all probably already know. Over 100 different destinations, 100 different parks and open space areas, which also include 2 state parks, 1 U.S. Fish and Wildlife National Wildlife Refuge. You know your population, and you guys are growing, and as the previous presenter pointed out, there are probably some undercounts in that. And so this number may be larger than what is posted on the U.S. Census. You have an amazing 300 plus butterfly species here, which really draws many of those folks who love to come down to the Rio Grande Valley and see those butterflies and birds and all the natural resources that are here, and over close to 200 miles of on and off street trails or biking facilities. Next slide. So I want to cover the public engagement component. There are a number of slides in here that I'm not going to run through. I'm just going to touch on that first slide. So you can go to the next one. So we had a public engagement and outreach effort through this process, which included a steering committee that we met with 4 times. We'll have one more meeting with them. I believe Commissioner Torres was a part of that steering committee. We did host some listening sessions, both virtual and in person, to meet with different stakeholders, which included both active transportation stakeholders, drainage and irrigation, district stakeholders, active tourism, chambers of commerce, and others that had an interest in both active tourism and transportation. We also did an online community survey, which was both provided in English and in Spanish, and that duration lasted about 4 weeks. Next slide. These are just some of the sessions and interviews that were conducted. And I'll ask you to fast forward maybe 2 more slides. Keep going. You have this full packet with all this information, which details that. You can stop right there. Perfect. Okay, so some of the key themes that resulted as part of the outreach and engagement really are probably no surprise to you, but obviously people had concerns about safety, right? Safe crossings across roadways in order to either walk or use their bike. The lack of connectivity. There's some great trails within the region, within a lot of the communities. A lot of great work has been done, but there is some lack of connectivity east and west. Really emphasizing that they wanted to continue a collaborative approach. You all are working well together and should continue to build upon that. There was a desire to really see if there's a way to really integrate public health into the effort to provide more trail access, bike and pedestrian access as well, through transportation accessibility. Just a recognition of the financial constraints, both at the local level and as at the larger regional level, at the county level. To continue that community engagement, make sure that people know that this is an effort that the region supports. And then the last few really just deal with making sure that there was providing access to low-income populations, consideration for sustainable development, and the maintenance and upgrades of the portions of the trail that are being constructed or proposed in the plan. Next slide. Okay, so the next few slides are going to cover essentially the sections of the plan, and I'll detail some of those that are related to the final recommendations. So the active plan includes 6 chapters, which really cover sort of in chapters 1 and 2, really this outreach, some of those guiding principles. In chapter 3 and 4, really looking at that active transportation network and framework, and then a specific chapter on active tourism. And then finally, in the final chapter, really delivery of the implementation or the short-term work program, which really provides guidance on administration, program funding, and that work program. Next slide. Next slide. So there are 6 guiding principles, and these are basically sort of the walls of the plan that really help to guide the strategies and recommendations in the implementation. Next slide. This is the active plan's vision. This vision was established essentially through the meetings with the steering committee, the public component that we had, an interaction with the steering committee. So it's to establish a signature county-wide trail network in Hidalgo County that connects communities and provides a safe and comfortable environment for walking, biking, and other forms of active transportation, linking users to key destinations across the county to foster a culture of active living and enhance transportation access through the Lower Rio Grande Valley. Next slide. This and the next couple slides really just detail some of the demographic data that we pulled to align with sort of where we saw a need for transportation choice and transportation access and connectivity. Next slide. We also were able to identify some general tourism impacts in Hidalgo County, recognizing that in addition to the active transportation, tourism is a big driver for what people do in their spare time here, how they enjoy and recreate, and when visitors come to visit here. And you can see this impact. This is also probably something you all are very familiar with as well. Next slide. So as a part of the active transportation network and framework, we evaluate the existing network system. So there are approximately 123 miles of on-street bike facilities, 73 off-street facilities, and over 1,700 miles of sidewalk. And so this is just a quick snapshot of some of the municipal trail systems that are within the existing network today. Next slide. In addition to that, we were collected information from the steering committee and from staff about some of the key destinations. You know, there are a number of destinations that sort of land under different areas, whether they're civic, cultural, educational, event spaces, even the medical and park and nature and retail. And so we categorize some of these and put them on a map so we're able to cross that with some of the information on the trails for the regional network. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to cover the trail segments, and I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on 4 of the segments, sub-segments that are identified in the plan. Next slide. So in order to identify the trail segments, we took we had some criteria that were based on the regional goals and the committee steering committee priorities. We have proposed 9 trail segments that were evaluated and cover over 170 miles of on and off street proposed trail. So I think that number is actually increased from 170 to about just over 200 miles. So when we finally did the final line work. Next slide. So I know this map is a little hard to see on the screen, but the teal line or the light blue line that is solid with a dotted line is the regional trail, the proposed regional trail network. And there are 9 segments. They're not identified specifically on this map, but there are 9 of them that we have broken out in mileages and included some key destinations, potential opportunities or obstacles that that are associated with each of these. We've numbered them from 1 through 9. We have associated some general names for us just as we are kind of exploring the community and the region where they are, but they are really 9 segments that really build that 200-mile regional network. Next slide. This was part of the assessment that we used, really identifying some of the population statistics, some of the low income statistics as to where each of these trails or these trail segments would benefit. And so we took the effort to rank them in terms of, you know, how many people they would improve access to, what communities they would reach, what areas would have tourism components to that. Next slide. Okay, so in the next section, we really focus on the active tourism approach and the recommendations that were provided for that. So as a part of this section of the project, one of the things that we did is we coordinated with our sub-consultant to review some of the destinations that were provided in the existing conditions. They were also reaching out to various chambers of commerce and others to be able to understand sort of the tourism community within Hidalgo County. Next slide. So they've identified a number of opportunities, some of which are already existing here within the county and some of your communities. The trail tourism, which is obviously something that is taking on nationwide and Texas-wide. The bicycle tourism also paired with that. Water trails, you'll see Texas paddling trails throughout, as well as other water trails throughout the nation. Wildlife and bird watching, already a very strong market here in Hidalgo County and the Rio Grande Valley, really building off of that as well. And of course, your cultural and educational trail components, really making sure that those cultural and heritage sites are identified along the trail. A couple other things I wanted to mention are the Los Mirasoles Wind Farm and the Hub Towns approach. And Los Mirasoles Wind Farm is an idea that would provide a new sort of tourism opportunity to the region. So other communities, we have seen that they have a number of these wind farms where they offer a short mile segment or 2-mile segment where people can almost trail tour through there to be sort of next to these large wind farms and understand sort of what's happening. And it's called an energy tourism attraction. And so it's gaining some traction on the west coast of the United States, and with so many wind farms here and the one that you have here in Hidalgo County, there may be a future opportunity for that. Hub towns are also another concept that were explored in the active tourism component, which is really to focus on what are the communities that we can really build off that have a number of attractions that people can sort of begin or end their particular trail destination, whether that's walking or biking. Next slide. Okay, so I want to cover the implementation and short-term work program very quickly. So part of the effort really was to develop an active transportation network. And really this was to make sure that the plan that we provided was consistent with the local and state and MPO plans and policies, that aligns with those active tourism recommendations, as well as the stakeholder and community feedback, and complements any components that would support economic health and transportation principles such as safety and access. Next slide. So these are the key goals for the active transportation and active tourism, which includes building a regional trail network, increasing branding and awareness, supporting comfort and usability, aligning healthy and active lifestyles, ensuring connectivity or connections and transportation choice, promoting natural and cultural links, and supporting that local economic vitality. Next slide. So where do we begin? So we had those 9 trail segments that we provided, And as a result of those 9, we identified 4 segments that we think, or we are recommending as initial segments to begin developing either future plans for or future studies for. And the first one is numbered trail segment number 7. And this one really connects the existing trail network that's being constructed through the precinct trails down to the state park, really building off of that cultural link, building off of the existing infrastructure, and making sure that that connection is there. Next slide. The next one is kind of focused on central Hidalgo County, which is really trying to better connect Mission and McAllen through east and west gap projects. And currently there are a lot of really fantastic north and south trail projects, both in Mission and in McAllen, but there are very few, or there are some gaps between that east and west. And so really making sure that people have safe transport, people know that they can get east and west across their communities there. So really prioritizing that segment to fill in those gaps so that there is seamless transport on that trail. Next slide. This is numbered trail segment number 9, which is really also building off of some existing trail and bike lane work in the Edinburgh area, and really building that east and west connection so that it can continue east onto some future proposed trail segments. A lot of great work happening in Edinburgh. The university is obviously there, so really making sure that whether you're a visitor or student or a professor, you have the option to utilize bike transportation or walking transportation east and west safely throughout that community. Next slide. And then finally, wanted to make sure that we focused on an area that would connect to the Kata Kata Trail. Your neighbors, the neighboring county of Hidalgo, Cameron County, worked on an active transportation and tourism plan several years ago and have really evolved that into the Kata Kata Trails. And so this particular segment would really focus on some existing trail work that has been done in the Elsa area, some off-street trail, and really making sure that that can connect into some existing bike lanes in some of those communities out there. Next slide. So how do we begin? So one of the elements of the plan in the implementation really focuses on making sure that we connect the active transportation network and the program. So the plan really addresses what we call plan administration. So what happens once the plan is complete? Who takes over? How does this project continue its momentum? And so the plan recommends the continuation of the steering committee to keep the momentum of the active plan. It recommends that each of the participating municipalities adopt a supportive resolution for the active plan, and it recommends that the LRGVDC and the RGV MPO and Hidalgo County enter into an interlocal agreement to begin continuing this process through the identification of roles and responsibilities and resources. This also includes program funding opportunities, high-level planning costs associated with the segments that we provided for you, and then some specific short-term work programs which provide objectives and strategies that would guide the partners, those in the ILA or the trail management agreement, and the partnering cities provide specific objectives and strategies to guide the partners to continue the momentum of the plan. And then finally, we've also included some key performance measures that could be used as a guide for success. Next slide. And this is just a illustration of sort of that operationalizing sort of that effort, that trail management framework, the cooperation between the county, the LRGVDC, the MPO, and the participating cities, which would then work together to develop a policy committee or the continuing steering committee, who would then continue to work together to identify projects and work with those cities to implement those projects. Next slide. And this is just a snapshot of the matrix. This is part of that short-term work program, which really identifies the goal, the objective, and the strategies that these each align with, and the particular time frame that it may take to accomplish this, as well as the participating lead or partner. Next slide. So next step. So obviously we're presenting to you today to give you sort of a snapshot of the report. We have one final steering committee meeting to review the final draft. And then we will complete updates and comments from staff in the LRGVDC, and you all receive a copy of that final report in December for your consumption and review. Our hope is that we could have some of our participating cities provide some city resolutions between now and January. And then we will return here to request final approval of the active plan with the LRGVDC board. So, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. Is there any questions? Thank you. Okay. I think it was already emailed to us, right? Thank you. You were on top of it.
So I sent it to everybody.
Okay. All right. And moving on to item 4D, consideration. I'm sorry. C, consideration and action to adopt the annual investment policy and accept the quarterly investment report.
This is Ann Cass. I had a question on the
I'm
transportation.
sorry. I didn't see.
I'm sorry, I'm really slow today. I know this was on tourism, but I also know that every time we meet with people who live in the colonias, the lack of transportation is a huge issue, especially when it comes to them getting to the clinic or getting to the pharmacist. So I don't want us to forget that. In fact, I think Methodist Healthcare Ministry is forming a task force to look into the whole issue of transportation for Colonia residents. So I know the presentation was on tourism, but I don't want us to forget that there's thousands of people who need transportation who live in Hidalgo County.
Thank you, Ms. Yan.
Good afternoon. I have two action items, the annual investment policy and the quarterly investment report. Both were provided for you for review. If there are any questions, they do require board action.
And they are in our packets. Are there any questions? No. All right. Second by City of Mission. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item D, consideration and action to appoint board designee and alternate to the Texas Association of Regional Councils.
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. This item is trying to get ready for 2025 in January. Our current members, as you know, Commissioner Garza is bowing out from the Council of Governments due to his efforts in Cameron County. And so he is our primary member representing the region up in Austin with the Texas Association of Regional Councils. Mayor Darling is alternate. We've spoken to Mayor Darling. He's willing to move up, but we do require selection, either primary or alternate from the board.
All right. So is there a motion to appoint or to move up Mayor Darling?
This is Commissioner Garza, and I would move that we appoint Commissioner Darling.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Garza, and we have a second by Hidalgo County. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And we need
Wonderful.
a alternate.
And we need an alternate. So is there any
volunteers?
recommendations? Mayor Darling, do you have a recommendation?
Well, I'm always the alternate. If the primary and alternate don't attend, that's where I come in. But it's always good to have our elected officials up in Austin. It does require travel. It's reimbursable by us. So there's plenty of coffee and donuts and pastries up there. And so it's I think it's a well-rounded group. All the cogs meet. It's an actual board of directors that meet in Austin from all the cogs, and you get to interact, network, and see what other cogs are doing, and so forth. Mayor.
Oh. I'm happy to do it if there is no volunteers from the group. Huh? Right.
Manny.
So excited.
Manny, the only comment I would make is that sometimes those meetings are not in Austin. They're in places like Sherman or Palestine, or, you know, sometimes it's not always an Austin trip, which is always easy. to fly back and forth. But sometimes it's kind of like in a secluded area of the state of Texas, and that makes it a little more challenging.
And the only reason was that I'd volunteer is because I know Mayor Darling will always show up. I think that you are consistent, and we're so proud that you represent us. And so if there is no others, I'm happy to volunteer unless there's.
I would move that we appoint the mayor as the alternate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appointment by Commissioner Garza, second by Hidalgo County. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
And just to be clear, the random meetings that happen at random places is just so that different, obviously, communities showcase what they have, and that's the reason. So we're looking forward to hopefully one day bring it down here. That way everybody can travel to South Texas.
Wonderful. And so second alternate and third alternate, is that necessary?
No, just the primary and
Okay.
alternate. I'm
And then
good on the
Manny.
backup.
Okay.
And then moving on to executive director's reports, I'll be quick. As you noticed, the big orange bus in the front parking lot. So remember, it's early voting. Election is the 5th. And so thanks to Mayor Sepulveda's recommendations, initiatives, we're providing free rides to the community as long as they show the proof of voting, whether it's just registration card, driver's license, any form of valid ID. And so we had the opportunity to capture a small video this morning. The mayor was great. She'll probably get an award. So just we're going to be posting that on Facebook through all our social media. And a rare opportunity, I got to give a ride to some of you all. That'll be the first and only until I retire and probably join Valley Metro as a driver when I retire. So that's great. So again, I highly encourage you to, if you see that post, forward it on. And it's available throughout the 5 county areas, so people can get on and go vote. So there's no excuse that there's no ride. So great initiative that we have going on. Moving on to the other items that I have, introduction of new staff. We had quite a bit really quick under transportation. Hauji He joined the RGV MPO. Griselda Mendoza, ADRC AAA. Martin Martinez, Valley Metro. Claudia Reyes, AAA. We had Ms. Samara Martinez, AAA. Shanna Ricker, Transportation RGV MPO. And then we had a promotion of Ms. Marisol Vera, who is now the administrative assistant for Ms. Margarita Lopez. So congratulations and welcome aboard to everybody that joined the COG. The other items that I have, just I won't brief you too much on it because I did provide it in advance. Just a reiteration of an update on the GLO Disaster Recovery Relocation Program. The call for projects is open. It opened October 21st and it's going to close November 21st at 5 p.m. So again, I highly encourage you all to apply. I did provide the PowerPoint presentation that was given a while back. So there's a lot of information and important dates. And again, highly encourage to submit. This is just the first stage, a call for projects. And so there's a process to it. I highly encourage to watch the video and the slides or pass it over to your grants department, our planning department, and so forth. And again, we do qualify, this region qualifies under Dolly and the 2018 floods. So there's quite a significant amount of funds that have been left over from those projects. And so they're available for everybody to apply. And I do have a list of our next legislative session, 89th legislative session objectives that were developed up at the Texas Association of Regional Councils with the cooperation partnership of all the COGs within the state of Texas. And so it's quite a list of initiatives from community economic development, environmental quality, emergency communications, health and human services, public safety, and transportation. So within that, there's subsections, obviously a lot of goals and objectives. I think we covered just about everything that we're into right now as far as the councils of governments and for the benefit of our local communities. Um, and last, I want to turn it over to Javier real quick. Javier Dominguez, are you online? He's just going to give you a quick recap of what's coming up here in the near future with a couple of meetings. Really quick, Javier.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Don't want to take much of your time. I do apologize that I'm not there in person today, but you guys will be getting an exciting announcement from Mrs. Gonzalez Rosas regarding an opportunity for our region. I'm here representing in Phoenix, Arizona at a 101 training with the National Renewable Energy Lab and the Department of Energy. But with that further ado, I just want to talk about two upcoming inaugural events that the LRGVDC will be hosting this year and the beginning of next year. The first one will be the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, which will be happening Monday, December 2nd from 10 to 11. And it's going to be in the lobby just outside the Ken Jones boardroom where all of you guys are currently located. We wanted to extend an invitation to all the board members to join us. We just want to say thank you for those who provided sponsorships. We'll be providing some coffee, some light snacks, and there will be a Christmas sweater competition. So we've been working with some of the city secretaries already to get some of this information on your calendars, but we will be forwarding those invitations out to you. And we just would like to take this opportunity for you to meet the extended family that we have here at the LRGVDC. And the second one briefly is our inaugural 2025 LRGVDC State of the COG. This meeting is typically where we present the annual report and budget, but we wanted to step it up a little bit this coming year. It typically happens the second Wednesday of January, and in December we ask the board for a final date selection. But we wanted to get recommendations on either the second or third Thursday of January this year. It will be from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. And again, we will be presenting the annual report and budget, but on top of that, we want to take an opportunity to showcase some of the hard work and dedication from all the various agencies and branches associated with the COG. We also have heard that we want to promote the LRGVDC in the region as a whole. So for the first time, we would also like to recognize some staff regionally. Again, understanding that this is the first time that we host an event like this. And so we would like to ask the board members in attendance today to recommend some city or county staff to receive an award of recognition at the event. We're thinking to keep it somewhere to around 6. So we will be sending out some of those nomination criteria out to you in an email that breaks this down further for you all. And if you can just send those out the sooner the better, we would greatly appreciate it. The location has not been determined. We might have it there at the Ken Jones boardroom and cater it. We've already started getting sponsorships for this event as well, so that just to let you know that we're not using some of the other funds for our programs, we are getting sponsorships. So we're being mindful of that moving forward. And so those are just the two events. And in regards to end of year reports, we also have our 5-year strategic planning document. And so we'll be sending out a survey to get your feedback on that. And with that, I'm ready to have any questions, or if not, move on. But that's just my brief update. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anything else, Manny?
January 9th seems to be the date that we usually have during the second week. And that's when we invite all the general membership and the board of directors to review the budget and approve the budget to recommend it at the end of the month in January to the board of directors. So the sooner we meet, the better. That way we get enough time to compile the necessary information. And so obviously, like Javier said, it's the first ever State of the COG address. And so hopefully we get a good start and continue to have those every year. And that's it. Thank you.
I do see Ms. Ann Cass has her hand up. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
It's me again. I'd like to go back to the legislative agenda. Are those goals set in steel already? Can they be added to?
Yes, this was approved up at the state at the Texas Association of Regional Councils. Obviously, we can recommend a few things, but this is just what was compiled from all the COGs throughout the state of Texas.
Okay, I would like to recommend that we ask for expanded Medicare or Medicaid, either one, There's like 300,000 people in Hidalgo County alone that have no insurance, and they don't qualify for Obamacare or for county indigent care. And it will bring us in money if the state decides to expand Medicaid or Medicare. The second issue is Medicaid. When the COVID pandemic was over, there were a lot of children who were added to Medicaid, and they were all taken off the list, whether they still qualified or not. And the Children's Defense Fund will tell you there's thousands of children who deserve to have Medicaid, but they've been taken off the list, and Texas has not invested enough in case management to fix that. And so there's a whole lot of children who are not getting health care because of that big mistake that they made. So that's another thing, is to fix the Medicaid qualified children's list.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll make that recommendation up to the Texas Association of Regional Councils, and we'll get back to you.
All right, great. So moving on to item 5, department reports. 5A, Community and Economic Development. Ms. Gonzalez?
Good afternoon, everybody, Mayor and Commissioners and elected officials, everybody who's here, anybody who's online. First and foremost, I have one action item, and my action item is just to approve the members for our EDAC, 4 current seats. We've got COSTEP for member at large, Cameron County Workforce, and then, of course, Hidalgo County Workforce. I'm asking for approval on those, and then after this, we'll only have 4 vacancies. So.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And I just have a couple of announcements. First and foremost, our Region M meeting is scheduled next week on November 6th at 9:30 a.m. It's virtual, and if you need information, it is on our website. The second thing is I want to announce, or not announce, but thank the IBWC for conducting a floodway tour for some of our staff. We actually got to see Retamal Dam and Amistad Dam. And if you've never been out there, it's an amazing, amazing opportunity. You can see our pictures right there. I was really excited because Amistad Dam, right in the middle, is the break between Texas and Mexico. So it's very, very interesting. So I really want to thank the IBCW staff, Frank and Juan, for doing that for us. And then finally, Javi alluded to what the announcement I was going to make. Oh, hold on, let me read. Okay, so for the last 7 months, Javier and I have been working diligently on an application for our Clean Cities Coalition here in South Texas. We've been working with Sam from DOE since the onset of that, and we're very excited because we submitted our application and they have chosen, it says, I want to share the good news that DOE is officially recognizing the South Texas Clean Cities and Communities Coalition, STC4 for short, as an apprentice coalition in the Clean Cities and Communities partnerships. We have our kickoff meeting on Monday. The coolest thing about this apprenticeship is that they do give us funding for full-time staff to make our coalition come to fruition. So I will have more details on Monday, but thank you. Javi is actually at the meeting in Phoenix for Clean Cities Coalition. I couldn't go this time, but he's actually meeting everybody, but we do our kickoff meeting on Monday, so I will update as we go. But I'm very excited because we are the 5th coalition, no, the 4th coalition in the state of Texas. There's already currently 3 in Texas, and when we approached them about starting a coalition, they said to us, sure, but you got to include the coastal Bend counties and all the way to Laredo and all the way down. So they kind of said, anything under San Antonio, if you can bring them together to create a coalition, you're good. And we did that. Mm-hmm. So we currently have 9 members that span from Corpus to Laredo down to here to get us started. And we will be adding coalition members as well. So I just wanted to share that really exciting news with us. So I have another program under my department.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Congratulations on all your hard work. Exciting news.
Yeah, and it is really exciting because it's air quality, where we're all working towards good air quality down here in our region. So
absolutely.
And that's it. Any questions? Oh, and my monthly report is in the packet. If you have any questions, I'm here.
I think Mayor has a question.
What about Region M? We're getting ready to close the 5-year plan. So
Oh, yes.
if you don't have a water strategy, and it could be purchasing additional water, you need to get it in the plan because otherwise you won't be eligible for Texas or Development Board funding. And so, and then if you wait till after the plan's amended, it takes months and it's expensive to amend the plan. So you just go back to your cities and review and put everything in there. It doesn't take anything to put it in there. But
Absolutely.
it's going to cause you problems down the road.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa, this is.
We
Commissioner-
have, is there a question?
Yes, Commissioner David.
I just have one comment,
Absolutely.
The picture on Amistad Dam, that is not the border between Texas and Mexico. It's the border between U.S. and Mexico.
Oh,
Even though
sorry.
Texas to claim all the borders,
That's true. Sorry. U.S. and Mexico, Commissioner. It is the U.S. flag that's there. So
Yes.
it's really, I mean, again, I tell Manny it was been on my bucket list as a little girl. And so I actually did my local bucket list when we went to visit Amistad Dam. So if you haven't done it, please do. It's very educational. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, Health and Human Services, Ms. Lopez.
Good afternoon. I did hear some alarms, so I'll move quickly. I do not have any action items for your consideration this month. However, I do have some important information. I would like to review once again that it is that time of the year for Medicare open enrollment season. It kicked off on October 15, and we only have until December 7th to make any changes. Our benefit counselors are ready. They have slots available to help our older adults. This is important this year, and this is why. There are going to be a lot of changes within the network of doctors. Why is this important? For those that are on their Advantage plan, usually there is no copay, only if the doctor is within the network. Now, if the doctors that these individuals currently have are some of those that are going to be changed, then your older individual adults may be facing the possibility of having copays. So we need to make sure that those policies that they currently have are reviewed so that they can continue to have uninterrupted services. Another key component here is we all know that when we have to change doctors, we have to go through the whole entire history. Now, after 60, we know that we have been seen by quite a few doctors, and it'll be very inconvenient to have to go to a new doctor because of the change in network and then get some of the treatment or prescribed medication lost for a period of time, and then we have other kinds of issues. And so this is the time where things get very serious for our department. This is a sensitive matter, and we do request your help in spreading the word. We have benefit counselors available. If our individuals cannot come to the office, we go to their homes. We just need to know who they are, where they are, and we do the work. Okay, so please, we have some flyers in Spanish and English at the sign-up table, and feel free to take them with you. That's the most important announcement that I have. I also do have the announcement of our third annual Veteran Festival. So this time the shout out goes to Mayor Garza and his team. They have been amazing, calling, sending us text messages, making sure that we have everything we need. This year we will be at La Palma Adult Daycare, and this was sponsored by Eliazar Rodriguez, who is also the Elsa Municipal Court Judge. It is an adult daycare. You can see it if you're on the expressway. It is at 1215 South Expressway 281 in Edinburgh. And we look forward to get as many of the 3,113 veterans that are registered to be living in Edinburgh. However, from Hidalgo County, there are 18,000 and counting veterans. So we hope to get as many as possible from Cameron County, Willacy County, everybody, come on out. Some of the things that we're gonna have on November 20th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. are barbecue pit raffles. You have to be there to win it. Those are for veterans only. Some health screenings, and along those health screenings, I want to point out that we are going to have the iBox. The iBox is extremely helpful. Um, it is for individuals from the early age of 5 all the way through 67. It measures concussion. And so if you're not a veteran and your child obviously is not a veteran but is participating in any games and you have noticed that they have gotten some blows and they have fallen, for whatever reason you want to get an assessment done, these assessments will be conducted completely free from 5 to 67, and it's measured through their eyes. It's a very simple test. You put your face next to a box, they measure the pressure on your eyes, and they'll be able to tell you if you have suffered a concussion and may not know it. So that's one of the many things we're going to have there at the annual Veteran Fest. And to kick off that event, our police academy is going to have a kickoff event the day before. November 19 is going to be at El Indio Law Enforcement Gun Range. They're hosting the Heroes in Action LRGVDC Veteran First Responders Marksmanship Competition. And so this one's going to happen before. It is in Dana, but you do know that we cover the whole region. And so we're traveling, and join us on the festivities because we have a lot going on for our veterans. Other than that, you do have my quarterly report. It covers the fourth quarter from July to September 24th. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Is there any questions? Yeah, all right.
Thank you, and I hope to see you at the Veteran Fest.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item C, public safety. Manny?
Yes, under Public Safety, Criminal Justice, Homeland Security, Mr. Cesar Merla.
Good afternoon, Board President, Board of Directors, and LRGVDC staff. Cesar Merla for Public Safety. No action items on the docket today, so very quick and simple. Just the status report is there. We've been very busy the month of October and September. There's some September things on there. Really focusing on getting training to the region. And thank you for that next slide, because this is what's important. As you can see, staff has been hosting training from top to bottom, hosting 25 individuals in preparedness planning, going to those dams along with economic development, evaluating first responder training, having one-on-one trainings here. So that's what we're doing. And that's what we're trying to bring down to the RGV, not just to first responders, but to those individuals that can benefit from this training. Our upcoming training is the de-escalation training for law enforcement, but I did receive confirmation that this training is available to all professionals. So if you know someone that works with law enforcement, to include your fire marshals, or if you have a counselor that, hey, they're a city employee, but they need some more training or additional training, they can come to this training and get, more experience with their law enforcement partners. Moving on, I believe there's one more slide. Yes, so coming up tomorrow, not tomorrow, on Friday, in collaboration with Behavioral Health Solutions of South Texas, we are hosting a naloxone training, or better known as Narcan. This training is a all-day 9:30 to 3 p.m. training with different time slots. The participant can use the QR code there and register for a specific time to come and receive the training. It's a 1 hour block of instruction. From there, the participant will receive a Narcan kit to go with them, plus certificate indicating that they received the training. I can't stress enough, fentanyl is one of those biggest things, and Mr. Solis, following me, will probably echo this, but it's one of those biggest drugs that has caused a lot of damage aside from cocaine and methamphetamine. Narcan can extend someone's life by 10 minutes or more, depending on how much of a dosage they can receive. So if you know anyone that could benefit from the training, please send them this way. This would be the second iteration. The first iteration had roughly 35 individuals attend. This next one is close to 50. So depending on your questions, that is all I have.
When is that?
When?
Yes.
Friday.
Friday?
This Friday, 9:30 to 3 with different time slots.
And where is it at? I think it's really small. I can't see it.
It is a little small, but it is going to be here at the Ken Jones Executive Boardroom.
Wonderful. I know we did this in Harlingen on our Save the Life training, and it's really important. Yeah. And there were quite a few people that came out, especially it was around the time when it was all over the news, but we don't need to wait for something to happen to Correct. Be, proactive in these measures.
Agreed. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Wonderful.
Thank you all.
Next item is Mr. Javier Solis. Unfortunately, he's not present, but he is online. Unfortunately, he couldn't get away. He's at the TICO conference, which is mandatory, and so he's presenting via virtual. Mr. Solis.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Cruz. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, and good afternoon, esteemed Executive Board. I have 2 action items. I'll try to go as quickly as I can. I know that everybody's busy. Number 1, I know you've heard me present about Senate Bill 1852, which now requires every Texas peace officer to receive 16 hours of alert active shooter training every 2 years. That is now a mandate by the state. We have currently trained over 300 officers, but our hurdle that we constantly have to get over is the logistics of putting together the equipment that is required for this training. So our action item number 1 is consideration and action to utilize LRGV Academy generated program income funds for the purchase of an alert level 1 active shooter training kit in the amount of $46,375.43.
And this is an action item. Is there a motion? Second by Willacy County. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Action item number 2, we're asking for consideration and action to approve amendments to the interlocal agreement for cooperative extension services and LRGV Academy site between the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council and the City of Mission, Texas. The Mission Police Department has found a need to increase their numbers for a growing department. They're looking for different ways to recruit. What changed in the interlocal agreement was the number of tuition-free slots that we give the Mission Police Department for them being a hosting site. Their slots have been increased to a total of 5 tuition-free slots and 5 slots at half tuition price. They have also extended the number of slots for the overall academy from 24 to 30 students maximum. So we ask for your approval in making those amendments to the interlocal agreement.
A motion. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all very much. As far as my reports go, the one big highlight is that on October 11th, 2024, our 224th Basic Peace Officer Academy from Weslaco had their graduation. We graduated a total of 15 cadets, and I'm very happy to say that back to back, we have had 2 successful academies where we now have a 100% passing ratio for those academies. So every one of those cadets that graduated on these last 2 academies, they graduated with their state licensing exam at 100%. Every one of those cadets are now in police departments. The biggest recipient of our cadets was the Mercedes Police Department. From this last academy, they were able to hire 6 of our cadets. Some other agencies that benefited on this last academy were the Sullivan City Police Department and the Cameron County Fire Marshals. So I'm very happy to say that we're providing officers to the region. On our reports, we had a total of new officers put out to the region in this last month of 15. The number of courses taught was 15. Well, we trained over 300 officers. I have provided the year up to date in the report. Right now, we're sitting very healthy when it comes down to training for the LRGV Academy. So I thank everyone that is a partner and helps us establish this for the region. I am available for questions if anyone has any questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Solis. We appreciate all your hard work. No questions? All right. Thank you. And so just to save some time, we're going to go ahead. In your packets, you have the information on the Rio Grande Valley Emergency Communication District, but we're going to go over to our action items on item D, Transportation Valley Metro. Mr. Tom?
Mayor, members, we do have 2 action items. Consideration and action to approve acquisition of vehicles under the state-approved grant for Valley Metro. We received 2 grants, one from TxDOT and the other one from FDA. We'll be buying 2 replacement buses.
Wonderful. Do we have a motion? Motion from Hidalgo County, second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Second action item, consideration and action to approve hardware acquisition for LRGVDC Valley Metro. We're buying IT equipment to update our computer systems and telecommunication hardware and software.
Motion? Second by Mayor Cowan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Our report are included in our package if there's any questions.
All right. Do we have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And do we have from the MPO?
Yes, ma'am. We have MPO staff. They'll be introducing their status report real quick and then introducing new staff as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Medina is our new executive director, and that is who we're introducing today. We do also have $9 million available, but I'm excited. That's what I came here to talk about, but I definitely want to give a chance to our new executive director to meet you all.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Michael Medina, and you can call me the new guy. So from here, I think I just want to really illustrate that I'm very humble and happy to be here to serve the Valley. And so as a new guy, I'm looking to see where the potholes are at. So if you know where they're at, please call me. You know, again, we'll transmit all the information to you all.
We got plenty.
Right? So again, you know, thank you again for your opportunity. Everybody needs yourself. Yeah, exactly. I know. Everybody, yes, absolutely. And so just really quick, I do have 20 plus years.
No, what is it?
Okay.
We'll pass it out.
I just wanted to say that I have 20 plus years in transportation planning and policy development, and a lot of time working with our Mexican counterparts to include, you know, others beyond the Mexican border. And so one of the things here that certainly we want to ensure as we move through our process is to foster that partnership. There was a presentation that was excellently done. And one of the terms that you're going to be hearing me talk about is something called regional significance. And so we want to make sure that whatever plans are being done throughout the entire valley, that they be recognized by the MPO so that we make sure that those plans come to fruition. So again, if you need anything, I'll make sure that we blast my phone number. And I'm a very light sleeper, so please call me.
Do you have a phone number yet?
I do,
Do you mind
and I
sharing
don't
it?
know it because I haven't called myself. But Luis, do we have it? Thanks. Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely 956. We'll come back
Welcome.
to you with the number. I want to be really quick. My number is available up there as well. But my name is Eva Garcia. I'm a planner 3 with the MPO. And if you're not aware of federal funding and how it works, we get apportionments, allocations. The MPO helps to program funding that's allocated to the region, and then the local governments receive that funding. They must obligate it and then reimburse it. And so there's a program, one of the funding programs that we have is the Transportation Alternatives, known as TA. We also call it TASA, the Transportation Alternatives Set Aside. So we are one of the few MPOs that have our own allocation for this pot of funding. Other areas, you're still eligible to apply to a statewide call for projects. They're going to have about $20 million more available for programming, but we do separate calls for project, and all these projects that are proposed must be related to bicycle and pedestrian or micromobility modes, principally for transportation rather than recreation, a direct relationship to the surface transportation system, a benefit to the general public, and publicly accessible. And so some examples of this is the shared use paths and side paths, separated bicycle lanes, and other types of bike lanes on our roads. If you go to our website, rgvmpo.org, and you go under funding opportunities, you'll see TASA. And we're about to open a $9 million call for projects. That is the federal amount that we have available to program. And I don't, you know, we have a program guide, we have a scoring criteria, and we have the application itself. Those are the 3 documents you're going to see on our website. But we have a long call for projects. Basically, we're going to open November 1st. And if your community needs technical assistance, they can reach out to us to provide that technical assistance, whether it's in mapping or guidance for the application. But our application deadline itself is January 31st, I believe. And I wanted to share the scoring criteria, but I know we're short on time, so I'm going to go ahead and skip it. But some key factors are project readiness, resiliency, safety, equity, and connectivity. There are some questions in our application related to whether or not your project is in a plan. So the Hidalgo County Active Plan, if you're from Hidalgo County, will be helpful. If you're within Cameron County, we have the Caracara Trails. And if you're in Willacy or Starr County, give me a call and I can help you find where maybe we have some state plans that have your projects in those books. But overall, if you do receive this funding, if your project is selected for an award, there are some development milestones that the RGV MPO helps monitor, and that includes ensuring that our state DOT is moving efficiently for advanced funding agreements. And so you have about 1 year from the time of award to work with the state for those agreements. And then we kind of monitor your project development, and we jokingly give A+ if you're able to obligate your project and funds early. And then kind of, if you do not obligate your project's award, assuming you're selected, then those funds do lapse and that impacts the region. So that's one of the reasons why we monitor. Your obligation is through a federal project authorization agreement. And once you have that authorization to proceed, then you can start billing the state and the feds for that reimbursement. So it's a reimbursement program. If you want to learn more, we have 2 workshops. They're going to have the same content. So November 1st, we'll have one at 1:30 p.m. and November 13th, we'll have one at 1:30 p.m. We do post these workshops online. So even if you're unable to attend the 1st or the 13th, they're still on our website for you to access. But I think attending the workshop helps you ask questions, helps us know where we need to be more clear and provide more guidance. But overall, again, this is the big timeline of activities. We'll open again this Friday, 2 virtual workshops that will be recorded and posted. The response to any questions will be posted by November 27th. And then deadline to request technical assistance is December 23rd, with the deadline to submit that application January 31st. So you have about 3 months to develop a project application for us to review. Then we'll have a month in February for staff at the MPO and the state to review those applications prior to sending them to the actual evaluators, which is made up of bicycle and pedestrian advocates and other representatives from your communities. And then again, we'll go through the approval process and hopefully have those awards by May. But we understand these projects take a while to develop, but we're here to help you through that entire step of the way. So with that, are there any questions on the RGV MPO's Transportation Alternatives Call for Projects opening this Friday? All right, we'll hope to see you at the workshop. I don't know if you wanted to have that number.
We've already got it.
You already got it. It's been
Good luck,
distributed.
Mr.
That's
Medina.
great. I wanted to make sure that got out there. But thank you all so much for your time. And again, we are available at the MPO to answer any questions and to help you with those project applications. Thank you.
And Mr. Medina's email is mmedina@rgvmpo.org. Easy.
Awesome.
Don't call me, call him.
Wonderful. Is item 7 last new or unfinished business? Does anyone have anything to announce?
I would like to request, if it's not too much of an inconvenience, for you all to meet me in the front so we can take a photo, do a photo op
Oh, yes.
next to the bus, just to keep promoting the voting initiative. So I would appreciate. Not
And
this
the
time.
information is also in the packet here. I encourage all the cities and counties to share their social media post, because I know that not everyone knows, but it's really awesome that all 5 counties can now get a free ride to go vote. And Manny did drive the bus, and I was really impressed with his skills. So,
So was
y'all
I.
should be very proud of your executive director. He's got some hidden talents. All right.
Thank
If
you.
there's no other announcements, then we are adjourned. And if the board could meet us out in the front real quick for that picture.
Yes, so the next meeting is December 11th. No meeting in November.
Right.
Okay. I got to do